cool but damp yet drying conditions. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Calvin Fish, Ryan Marine down in pit lane. It is time to go touring car racing. Part of the 3 classes of TC America in the touring cars. Big field, 17 cars here getting ready to go. And we have seen over the past few years some tremendously close competition in the touring car division. We certainly expect to see the same today. Qualifying provided a couple of surprises in the 2 practice sessions. Johann Schwartz, who was one of the front runners, 3rd place in the championship last year, sort of had him covered a little bit in the practice sessions. However, right at the end, Jeff Rika in the Genesis Coupe, number 78, put that car in the pole. You see that red, black, and white machine to the right of your screen, and he ended up putting it on pole in a great late session run. Johann Schwartz alongside Toby Grahovic, a former champion, Steve Strymer, a front runner. This is a stout field. It's going to be fun, Cal.
It is, and what a surprise for the pole. I mean, Johann had about a 1.5-second gap on the rest of the field, and I wonder if the crew were giving him that margin. He thought, I don't want to push it and risk anything, and suddenly Rika put that lap together and stole the pole away. So it'll be interesting to see how this one shakes out. A lot drier conditions than we saw in that earlier qualifying session this morning.
And some changes as well in terms, absolutely right. Steve Strymer, who, of course, last year ran in a Nissan, is running one of the Rooster Hall BMWs here. And there is a look at our pole qualifier, Jeff Rika, in that Genesis Coupe, really doing a superb job. And we've seen him. He hasn't always been able to run a full season, but whenever he's shown up in this championship, he was always a front runner and a contender. There's Johann Schwartz, again flying the West Virginia University colors, the Saybelt gloves. Always see those yellow gloves flashing in the windshield there, and look forward to him. Great effort by him. Here is Toby Grahovic, always connected with classic BMW. And when you take a look at this M235 or 240 IR platform, a lot of them in this class.
There is 17-car field, and 14 of them are BMW. We've got a couple of Nissans there, and obviously the Genesis on the pole. Steve Strymer making the move from Nissan over to that Rooster Hall team, so they're now campaigning 3 cars. Richard Zollman joins that group as well. So he put in a nice run there to put that car 4th on the grid, right behind his team leader. Let's call him that for now anyway. A little bit of room at the top in this championship as well, Greg, with the champion Vesko Kozarov not returning, or Carl Whitmer, who finished 2nd in the championship last year.
You just saw a look there at Zane Hodgson, and you see Lone Star Racing. That's a team that's done a lot of GT3 racing out of Texas, running a TC program here. Here's the car that Strymer ran last year now, Joseph Federal in the Nissan 370Z from the Tech Sport Racing entry is right there. There's Cameron Evans. And interesting story here. If you are familiar with motorsports announcing over a long stretch of time, there was a guy named Steve Evans who was a bit of a legend. This is his son. It's a great story, Cameron, running here. And there's the number 20. That's Robert Nimkoff. 6th in the championship in this class last year. Had a top 5 at the Glen. And this, I think, is one of the great stories. Richard Zollman teamed up and ran with the Rooster Hall team at Utah, and was immediately right mid-pack driver, had very little experience, and the bug was planted very deep, but he's back now for the season. That's good news.
Yeah, he's a real character. Great to have him in our paddock, and he just got introduced to it. He had some friends who said, oh, we're going to do a chump car race. He said, yeah, I'm in. And then he got the bug, and he's even talking about maybe doing some GT4 stuff later this season.
Yeah, we saw a shot there. Paul Terry had a couple of podiums last year early in the season in that Reardon Racing Nissan, so great news there. As a look at the number 55. Big story here. That's Mosey Uretsky in that 55 Murillo Racing BMW. Remember last year ran TCA in the Mazda MX-5 global car. This year decided to move up to touring car, carrying those always orange colors of Murillo Racing. It's going to be fun to see where he plays out here. You got Pete Atwater. Here's the 21 of John Allen. And John ran just the Glen last year in touring cars for Auto Technic, and said, I want more, and has come back. And you see where legends are made. That's Alabama. That's the University of Alabama. Go Bama is what they're talking about a lot in that paddock right now. As you take a look at Chandler Hull and then Greg Nitzkowski are at the there is the 09 of Greg, and then Bruce Wexler at the back of the field. But for John Allen, they had a tough start. They had a problem with a radiator clamp broke and drained the water out of the engine, and they ended up getting it fixed. They really thrashed, and he said wanted to say a big thanks to the guys from Classic BMW as well for coming over and getting that put together. Now, that was in their GT4 program, and so they got a lot of help there. But I think it's just indicative of the fact that you got a guy that you're racing against who's an outright competitor with you. You struggle, everybody's there to help.
That's the way the paddock should work. It's a big family, and who knows, you get to the end of the season, if the championship contender, you'd get the same favors, but certainly for the opening race, you're going to try and get everyone out there.
Yeah, we talked to John, and he said, I'm not sure. He said, hopefully they'll be able to get it all taken care of in the GT4 car, and he said, I'm running TC as well. I'm looking forward to that, because that's just, and that's, remain unchanged. We've seen some changes in the GT4 and the GT3 classes of the championship for TC America. It's still 40-minute sprint races. Everything is the same, and these drivers just love that. They said it's on us, it's just us, and we get to go out and thrash it. And there you see the signal to get those engines fired up, and we are getting ready to go racing. Once again, this will be 40 minutes timed event as we are getting ready to go. Nice to have the Honda at the front of the field as our official pace and safety vehicle, and a nice field of machinery to go out. Have to ask you, Cal, obviously, as they're heading out on track, we've seen some qualifying sessions. There's a nice dry line where teams have been able to turn some pretty quick laps here. But now you're going out, you're side by side on these laps coming around to start, and you get into dicing and you make a move to the inside, you get on that dampness. This is when it can be pretty sketchy.
It really can, and for these drivers, they actually qualified on the weather tire because it was a lot damper for their first qualifying session of the weekend. So they're going to be treading carefully, and as you said, we saw the GT cars within a second of the fastest times from yesterday in perfect condition. So the racetrack has the grip, but it's pretty much not everywhere. So when you get side by side, particularly entering this very dramatic turn one, you can't climb that hill and you plunge back down, as we're seeing the exit here, of course. You're sometimes 3 wide up through there, and then you get on the painted curbing there on the outside. The grip level is hopefully no one gets it wrong. We have a nice clean start to start our championship year.
And this pace lap is always important, but in these conditions, I would think it's incredibly important, because last time they were out, as you said, this track was wet, and now it's like, okay, where's the dry? What do I need to be aware of? And everybody trying to just sometimes you get offline on purpose to figure out what's the grip level over here.
Curious to know if anyone had some nice, just slightly scrub tires. That would be a benefit right now in these conditions. If you did do that yesterday. Obviously, a tire restriction on how many sets you can have. Typically, they'd be, running on stickers for this, but maybe someone's going to run some scrubs here. That could be an advantage in the early going.
You have to hang on at the end sometimes.
Talk about the conditions. Someone's already got it a little bit wrong here.
Oh, yeah, the 81, it looks like, of Strymer.
Well, he'd have been excited about his qualifying position of 4th, but he's pretty much buried up to the axles there. He's not going to go anywhere without some help, I don't think.
And that you can see the dampness, and there's spots on that track. Yeah, and obviously they can't start the race like this, I wouldn't think. So going to have to get over there and get him extracted, I would imagine. All right, watch at the back. There he goes.
Yeah, just turns it around, just loaded it up, and just loses it. That's a shame, because I'm not sure they're going to get him out of there before he essentially goes down a lap to the field.
Yeah.
I think the clock, even if we've got a delayed start here, the clock will start, so that'll mean he might be behind. But safety crews are there right now if they can get him out quickly. Ideally, what he wants is to get out, beat the pack, but have them delay the start so he can hustle back around and get onto the tail end of the pack here and not lose too much ground.
Yeah, the question will be obviously race control. They would have the option if there's time, and these are time-critical schedules. If there's time, they could possibly just say, all right, we're going to run one more pace lap before we start it. But generally,
you've got to be careful because fuel loads and stuff like that. So you can't suddenly throw an extra lap at these guys, even though it's a slow one. So he's in good shape here. If there's no damage to that car, which there shouldn't be, probably going to have to delay the start. This is perfect for Steve Strymer.
It is.
He's got a long way to catch up, but he should have the time. He can pretty much run at full speed now and catch that pack back up. They're not going to see the green, and he's not going to assume the 4th starting position, but he could be on the tail end of the pack.
Yeah, at least exactly. He won't be a lap down, and he could be fun to watch considering how quickly he went in qualifying. It'd be fun to watch coming up through the field, or at least attempting to do so. We'll have to see here.
safety car staying
Staying
out.
out.
They gave that. I don't think they're going to reverse that decision once that's been made. Otherwise, it gets confusing if you switch back and forth.
And we should probably point out that one of the changes from race direction is for this event this year is when we come around for the actual start, the pace car for all the classes is going to just pull off wide at the exit of 19 and stage there just in case there's an incident on the front straight, so it can pick the leader up and lead him into pit lane. Once they clear the front straight, the pace car will then go through pit lane, stage up by pit out. But just want to make everybody aware that that'll look a little different than it has in the past here.
Sure, Strymer's going to be careful after getting caught and the conditions, but he can have a bit of an advantage over the guys he's going to be attacking immediately. If he can catch up with his pack, he would have generated a lot more tire temp than the rest of these guys running behind the safety car. So, again, it's not the ideal start to his season, but he can come and skyball his way through the pack of the pace that he's been displaying this weekend and get up into the big points. Points only down to 10th position now, so it's important to get a good run.
I didn't do a lot of racing, so I don't have a lot of racing stories, but one of them was exactly that. I won't go into the reason why I missed the grid. I got out on the track, and I had to absolutely thrash to catch the field, and I did it as they were coming out of the last turn onto the front straight. And it just timed out perfectly because I was in top gear when it went green, and I just pulled over, blew by a bunch of cars. I had nice warm tires. And it was like, boy, if you can figure out a way to do this every race. So
There he is.
Yep.
No, that's
that's Zulman, I believe. So we'll see just how much ground, but he ought to, as you said, certainly ought to be able to catch him. Now, what they're saying is the lights will go out on the pace car when it comes through turn 11, which is on the far end of the track from pit lane, and to get everybody opportunity to get bunched up and everything by the time they get to 12, and then you need to start forming.
Yeah, you're supposed to stop the tire warming and zigzagging around. As you can see, everyone's still trying to generate a little bit of tire temp. Doesn't really do a lot, to be honest with you, at this low speed by weaving like that. You can generate more tire temperature by just running the gas pedal up against the brake pedal at the same time, feeding it, and just generating tire temp that way. You get the brakes nice and hot. That then goes up through the upright and into the tire itself, rather than this mild scrub that you can see some of the drivers doing.
A lot of the scrubbing is more just to keep those tires clean. And there is Strymer, who is...
This is going to time out pretty well. Coming down towards turn 10, 11. Yeah. He should be pretty good. I think he's going to catch this pack, Greg.
I think he is.
Maybe he's going to pull your move. If he's leading into turn 1, I'll be.
Well, yeah, exactly. Working through the stadium section here. She's at 12, 13, 14, 15. Just keeps folding back on itself. And you see some great racing in this section of the track as you see somebody do an undercut and then float wide, and the guy squares up, comes right back underneath him. It's a fun section. Not real fast, but fun in terms of racecraft.
See the clock has started, 40 minutes counting down. Last time they came across the stripe. Pace car is speeding up a little bit here. It's up to the pole sitting car to lead them around. Maintain a pace.
And in theory, yeah, you're supposed to back off a little bit, let that pace car get enough gaps here. So there you see it pulls off and it'll stage. Yeah, Rika now.
For Rika because there's a single file start here. It's like a restart essentially. So he doesn't have Johann Schwartz right alongside him.
All right, here we go. Watching for the green flag. Now the start stand is up at the other end of the straight, and that's the only time you'll see a flag is from that far start stand. Ooh, and Terry went way early. I mean, huge early. We'll have to see what happens there. A big attack move here by Grahovic trying to get down the inside of Schwartz up into turn 1.
Rika really wide. He's looking for grip. He lost the front end there. Johan comes at him. Battle for the lead as they head down the hill.
3-4 abreast. At the apex of turn 2. There's the number 4. Hodgson doing a nice job. And Johan got him. Schwartz leads.
He does. Let's see what Johan has. He's the drift master. He's got great car control. He's putting it all on the line now, trying to create that gap early. Rika's car did not come alive. He couldn't get the front end working as he exited turn 1. That cost him the opportunity to maintain the lead.
One of the Nissans That is indeed Terry. Got a nice start in a bit of a jump and moved up a couple of spots, has slotted into the 5th spot.
Grahovic there, I believe it is, looking to the inside of Ricker for that 2nd position. Ricker maybe holding him up a little bit as they go 3 wide now down into the break zone for turn 11.
Hodgin in the number 4 BMW, qualified 5th. That's that Lone Star car. Mosey Uretsky going way wide. The exit of 11 in the orange Murillo Racing BMW.
Sure, if he was forced out there or just missed his braking point in these conditions. You get 3 warnings essentially, then you're going to be getting a drive-through penalty if you exceed those track limits. A piece of bodywork goes flying there. From the front. Oh, that's a deep move. Just gets away with it.
And
Zulman.
Zulman, and it gathered up Terry.
He's got in there super deep. ABS was kicking in, but just had too much yaw in the car and lost the rear end. Here comes Strymer.
Looks like Terry had to lock up to avoid getting into Zulman, and he may have stalled it. You're right, Strymer right there on the rear deck of his teammate. After that spin. So it's Rika, Schwartz, and Grahovic, your top 3. Hodgin in 4th, Federal up in the 5th spot. And Johann Schwartz, does it look like about 10 car lengths?
Yeah, nice comfortable margin. Now he'll just be looking at his rearview mirror trying to maintain that gap. I think Ricker's car may come alive a little bit later. We certainly saw in the qualifying session he surprised everyone with that last lap flyer, but that was in very different conditions we're seeing right now in this race.
Federal now has taken the Nissan up into the 4th spot from 6th. That's the Texport Nissan. Nice job there. And Evans up into 5th.
That's really cool. What a great story.
It is.
I'm sure he's a young man who watched racing for many years with his dad, one of the main broadcasters over the last few decades. He was a great man.
Yeah, I just happened to watch on YouTube recently a little bit of the old Columbus, Ohio GTP race, and Steve Evans was doing the reporting from pit lane. Great stuff. Here's Grahovic working Rika over. This is the battle for 2nd.
Grahovic's car is a little bit quicker than Rika's potentially over the whole lap, and it looked like Schwartz has extended the lead maybe a little bit further, up to just under 2 seconds now is the gap between 1st and 2nd. Ricker had good speed in qualifying, admittedly down, but he had about 5K on the BMW, so the BMW was very quick over the lap. I think Ricker may have a little bit more straightaway speed with that Genesis.
Keeping an eye on Schwartz's margin here is 1.8 seconds last time by. We'll see what he's been able to stretch it to at this stage.
So Ricker and Grahovic in the draft. 3 to 4 miles an hour quicker than Schwartz through the speed trap there, down towards turn 12. Grahovic there looking pretty racy, looking for a good clean way through. Ricker there again struggling to get that car turned in. He's getting some understeer there at turn in. Maybe those tires still aren't up to 10, but giving him the sweet spot that he's looking for.
Grahovic trying to float the outside there, Cal.
He's looking, he's probing. Jeff is definitely holding him up a little bit at this stage. I have to think for Johann Schwartz coming into this championship year, recognizing that Whitmer and Vesko Kozrov would not be campaigning full time at least. Who knows whether we'll see them on occasion, but great opportunity for the man who finished 3rd in the championship to go after the title this year, and he's doing it great right now. He's leading.
And balloon that margin up to over 3 seconds. Here comes Grahovic. Or at least he thought about it down into turn 1.
And he got
Rika offline a little bit.
Yeah, he just doesn't look happy there. He just cannot get the front end turn.
And all you can do is wait to get to the throttle and you get somebody whose car is sticking.
You lose your rhythm yourself as well when you're following, because he's kind of stymieing you where you could be rolling some more speed through one of the apexes. So it's a real chess match. You've just got to really try and think it through a little bit more, and as you get more and more laps and recognize maybe where Richter's car is not working as well as you, don't be right under his tail and losing your momentum. Let's try and flow through the corners there and take advantage down into the brake zones.
To Jeff Riga's credit right now, he's doing a great job, one, of being patient, and two, when he comes out of a turn, he's got his car right where he would think Grahovic's going, and Grahovic just hasn't been able to find a way by. So it's a nice piece of defensive driving by Jeff Riga. I don't know how it's going to last, but it's working for him now.
Well, he's got that straightaway speed advantage, but I think with Grahovic that close, he kind of drags him along for the ride down this long straightaway here between turn 11 and 12.
That group of three up at the front has built a sizable margin back to the battle for fourth and fifth between Federal Evans, Hodgen. This is the compelling battle on the track right now. Here we go back a little bit farther in the order. Have a look, that second car in the frame with the yellow right rear is Hodgen, Lone Star Racing entry. Mosey Uretsky in the orange entry, running in the 8th spot. A couple of cars behind Hodgen. Oops, somebody. Oh, and it was Terry.
Piece of action there. Yep. Schreiber's had a busy day. He's slicing and dicing, gradually working his way up through this field.
It's the same spot where Terry had to lock up to avoid the spin by Zulman. It looks like a man just snapped away from him on his own. Yep. And this time Zulman goes defensive. Yeah,
he was just trying to protect there. Came in probably in an acute angle and just lost the rear end under the Nissan there. It's back underway.
So
try and regroup.
So it started as an acute angle and ended up ugly?
Something like that.
Oh, look at this. Grahovic's sled has been able to get through.
See the racetrack there, very different color, and I think it's where a lot of that milling and grinding has taken place to get rid of some of the bumps that have been established over the last couple of hard winters that they've had here.
Well, the interesting thing, when you mill it like that, it leaves grooves, these little grooves, which makes obviously it a little bit more abrasive, but they hold the water longer as well, so it looks almost shiny sometimes, and it's partly true. Look at Streimers. He is really putting on a drive here, working up through the pack.
Kowski is the next driver. He has his target on right there, trying to find his way through the field. Strymer up to the 13th position, having fallen all the way to the tail end of this 17-car field.
And all you can do after something like that is put your head down, make up as much ground as you can. And especially if you're in it for the season, you want to get as many points as you can. You don't want to throw it off the track again. Got a nice run there.
Nicely, Kenny. Hug around the outside. Gives his competitor a little bit of racing room. That gives him the inside, but he's a little bit later on the power. Kowski doesn't want to give it up, side by side as they plunge down the hill to the brake zone for 11. Strymer takes it away.
See that really quick little kink, and yeah, nice job there. Oh, and a
late
big move down to the inside. That's the number 21 of John Allen.
It was nice. He kept it together there. Didn't look good for a while, but Strymer cleared the apex. When you dive down to the inside, you're just praying that car gets out of the way. There's two cars ahead of you.
Well, that's one of the things with this track, the way that Tilke designed it at 111, you get these big, it just opens up to the apex. And the problem is you get way to the inside. The guy you're passing doesn't see in the mirrors. He has sometimes no clue you're there.
You're out of their field of vision, literally, even with the mirrors. So it gets a little bit dicey, but he did a nice job. Late start, didn't start racing till he was 54, John Allen, so joined these opportunities.
He's a fellow of the University of Alabama School of Engineering. And he said,
be a smart fellow.
Yeah, he said, I wouldn't be what I am and where I am in life without that education, that work for that School of Engineering.
He's pulling it back by using his racing platform to bring some attention to the college.
Here's a good look at Strymer on the recovery drive after that spin. Confirmation from the team, by the way, said, yeah, he just cold tires on that lap, and it snuck away from him. Back to the front, Johann Schwartz. He's got the West Virginia University colors on that car. Again, the School of Engineering. They have a couple of new, they did it all last year, and they've got two new SAE students from the School of Engineering that are embedded in that team this year.
Grahovic, he was actually a little bit quicker than the leader on that last lap, so took a couple of tenths off. I'm sure Johan was going to try and control this guy. Almost a 4.5 second lead, but certainly now Grahovic has cleared Ricker. He's starting to show some good pace here. Not as fast as, not as fast as Johan's fastest lap, but quicker than Johan on the last lap.
Right there, Federal just turning in there, doing a nice job, a nice lonely fourth at this stage in the Tech Sport racing machine. Again, he qualified sixth and has been able to ease away from the group behind him. The 82 of Evans, the 4 of Hodgen, the 20 of Nimkov.
A good year for Nimkov. Had some solid performances last year and another year under his belt. You'd have to assume he'll come back stronger here.
Yeah, absolutely. And watching this little battle, I was just watching the orange, number 55 Murillo Racing entry of Mosey Uretsky. He was quick in the practice session, didn't qualify where he wanted, and I think they may have just had not had the right setup on the car in the qualifying, which was fairly wet, and he has jumped up from that 12th qualifying spot up into 8th and has thrown down some pretty decent laps. I think he's going to be somebody to watch, but this is a good little scrap here.
Really good.
Yeah, Hodgen, that's the battle for the 5th spot. Hodgen chasing Evans. There's Evans in the co-part, number 82.
It's a little bit tighter line through that triple apex, probably giving up a little bit of speed through there, but it's a little bit of a learning game and putting laps underneath early in the season.
Watching them complete their battle. Oh,
real wide.
Way wide, and that might just give the run to Hodgen.
You use all of that red and white curbing, but you can't go beyond that. You got to have at least 2 of your tires on the red and white curbing, so they've increased the track limits a little bit just because of the nature of this circuit. Very hard to police.
And should probably give a little shout out here. The team that Evans is driving for is a team that had 7 years in touring car racing, and then went and ran. Here's a look at the start. There's that move by Terry. And the problem is there's a rule there that you can jump as soon as it's green. You can go racing. The question is, did Terry move before that green flew?
Well, it looks sudden, so normally as your crew is calling that, they'll give you radio communication. Then we see on the exit of turn 1, Rick is struggling for grip, and ultimately Johan grabs the lead here as they head down through the
So that was a look. But getting back to the story on Evans, Bimmerworld. And Bimmerworld back in the day were absolute stalwarts in the touring car category. And this year, James Clay and that team said, we want to get back over here. We're enjoying what we're seeing over there now. He did a little racing last year back in this series. And he's running a GT4 program with one of his fiercest competitors in the other series with Randy Mueller and Epic Motorsports.
Oh, Rick, really deep there.
Oh, yes.
Like he had to take evasive action rather than getting in the back of Grahovic, but Grahovic has really narrowed the gap to our leader. It was up to almost 4.5 seconds, and now down under 3.5. So Grahovic was nearly a second quicker than Johann Schwartz, our leader, on that last lap. He's under attack still from Ricker from a long way back. We talk about Ricker's car got a little bit more straightaway speed. He probably closed on him and had to take evasive action. Was my call on it early.
Ricker right now, the only car we've seen that's over 220 kmh. That's how we get the other readings here at the speed trap. So yeah, you're right. That car definitely has a nice bit of lump in it and going well. Now it'll be interesting to see now with Grahovic with that moment by with Rick in the overshoot. Grahovic doesn't have him right on his 6 at this stage. So turn the mirrors down and see what he can do with Schwartz. But you pointed it out earlier, Johan is a pretty smart driver, and he may be thinking, I want tires for the end of this one.
Yeah, for sure. What you don't want to do is just keep increasing the lead. Suddenly there's some kind of reset, maybe with a safety car, and you got nothing left. So I'm sure he's just taking it easy through the middle part of this race. He'll look at that gap, and if Grahovic gets within a couple of seconds, maybe Schwartz can react.
Oh, and Evans now, after Hodgen got him, he's now under attack by the number 20 there of Robert Nimkov. Evans trying to stay with him around the outside. Nimkov going to be able, whoa, that's close. But Nimkov in the out of Technic, BMW was able to slice through and pick up 6th.
He's done a nice job there. Wasn't sure he's going to get the power down on those wet painted curbs. Doesn't offer the same amount of grip as the racetrack. He's found himself in some good little battles here today. This will really increase his learning curve for sure.
Absolutely. And now the guy that's going to take up the battle, the 66, and this is a great story, up from 13th in qualifying, and now up into 8th and knocking on the door. Better than that, Pete Atwater. That's the new light BMW. New addition to this championship and doing a superb job. And he's got Mosey Urexi glued to his deck, so this is going to become a good little 3-car battle.
It's always great at the start of the season, Greg, to see some of these new competitors we're not that familiar with, just to see how they integrate with the championship with some of the regulars. Will be the big surprise of the season. He makes that progress where you start to see some form early, and that turns into podium finishes and possible wins at the end of the year.
And especially when you've got somebody that you've seen in another category that moves up, like Uretsky, it's like, all right, and we know what he can do in TCA, what can he do in this category? And he's shown he's perfectly capable here as well. Ooh, nice rotation there by Hodgson.
I think the track is now starting to build a little bit of temperature, giving these drivers a little bit more confidence. They're pushing things. You can see the load in the car, in the tires, is getting more we're used to dry conditions.
This is such a great sequence of corners. Triple apex right-hander, just you drop off. It's got a little off camber at the exit, and you find yourself that little dance all the way through that corner when you're on the limit.
Great rhythm and flow just come through that triple hand. It just gives you enough room to kind of set back up. It's a bit like Indianapolis at Le Mans, you know, that corner. Just gives you enough time to set back up for the next left.
And next left, turn 19, you actually have to commit to the turn-in before you see the apex. It kind of falls away, and it's a corner that really handcuffs somebody who's never driven here for a while until they can really figure it out.
What a unique corner this is. 133 feet of elevation change from the start-finish line up to turn 1. Paul Terry now on the rebound after that spin.
He just got around Strymer. And you're right, and the tricky thing is right there it flattens out a little bit, and so you've got you can actually carry some speed as it you know but it gets light as it flattens out. And if you miss that, that's when you see cars just floating wide all the time, because as the car gets light, if you don't come off the brake correctly, you're going to lock up. Ooh, boy, Terry is hammering those curves.
He's on the attack, isn't he?
Yes, he is. I'm sure he's annoyed because he had once not of his doing, he had to stall the car to avoid hitting somebody. Then he spun it, and that just gets the red mist, and it's a matter of how you focus that.
You know, the team has good setups. Vesco Kozrov is still behind the scenes there, working with their drivers at Reardon Racing.
That's been a solid program for a lot of years. Lara Tallman and Vesco is the lead driver, and they've done some great stuff. Rico looks like he's coming back.
He's getting hooked up. Yeah. Just laid down his fastest lap of the race at 2:27.1, which was 0.6 quicker than the leader. So you can see the front end on that Genesis is now starting to find its way, giving him the change of direction he's looking for. So I don't think Grahovic can rest on that runner-up position right yet. Schwartz continues to manage the gap at the front.
3.2 seconds last time. Schwartz's margin over Grahovic. It's down. 2.8.
Yeah, 0.3 is taken out the lead by Grahovic, and Rika are a couple of tenths quicker than Grahovic. So right now they're in reverse order of their pace. Third is the quickest, second is second quick, and the lead is the third quickest of this trio.
Again, these three well clear of the rest of the field. Federal hanging on in fourth in the 23 Tech Sport Nissan. And then this little scrap, and that's Nimkoff taking a look at Hodgson. Nimkoff, the white and green BMW, way down to the inside. I thought for a minute that Hodgson might lift and try and square up underneath him.
That water really wide there, went into that shallow angle, couldn't get it turned. Starting to get racy.
Yes, they are. Well, we're heading into our final 15 minutes of this one. There's Nimkoff. I want to give a shout out to it's a new program across every category in the TC America, as well as the rest of the classes in the series now. You see on the upper right corner of the windscreen, it's called Lumarank, and it is a digital display, and it alternates between overall race position and then the 3-digit abbreviation of the driver's names. And certainly it doesn't hurt us to be able to have that for quick reference, but for fans at the track, you see the Nim for Nimkoff, then he's running 6th. For fans at the racetrack, it's fabulous.
It really is. It's a great fan aid, as you say. We lean on it now and again when there's been a shake-up in the order halfway around a lap, but certainly for the fans on the side of the track, they can really take advantage of that information.
Hodgson, Nimkoff, Evans continuing their battle. This is now, again, the scrap for 3rd. There goes Schwartz in the lead.
Rick is really starting to get the hammer down. There's going to be a battle for that runner-up position here. Intensify here over the next few laps.
And again, you've got to show real patience, don't you? Which is sort of, anathema for a race car driver. When you've got a car that early on is not as fast, something's not quite right, like Rick clearly had, the tendency, you want to just push anyway because you don't want to lose ground, and that's when you can root those tires up. And you just have to have the discipline to say, just wait till it comes. Not always easy.
It isn't, but he's a great young man, doesn't have the budget of some, this is not a high budget category by any means, but he doesn't have the budget of some of his other competitors. Had to skip a couple of rounds last year, but he certainly gives it 1,000,000%, has a lot of talent in that car.
Yeah.
He's certainly got some pace as well.
It would be great for him to be able to find the support to do a full season and see just what he could do, because, in a category this close, you miss one event in those points and you're out of it. And he would certainly always, I think, be a contender. It'd be nice to see. And we said that about Vesko Kozarov for a lot of years, and finally last year they were able to put it together and won the title. So that's the kind of story that can happen.
Really pushing hard there through turn 10, plunging down the hill again. They're closing in on the leaders. Curious to see if Schwartz has any time in the bag that he can find here to finish off this race.
There's Federal. We've been talking about him doing a very nice job. Give him a little shout out here. He's running a lonely 3rd right now in the Tech Sport Racing Bossman Nissan. Again, that is, I believe that's the chassis that Strymer ran last year, so it's well sorted, and he's given it a pretty good ride.
They won the team championship last year, didn't they?
They did. Strymer had a win in that car, so it works for sure, and Federal doing a very nice job. Today qualified in the 6th spot, avoided some of the pitfalls early, and has settled into this 4th spot. Bossman Men's Grooming Products. Supporting that program. And then that battle behind them, Nimkoff, Hodgson. Still close. Nimkoff, once he got around, he was able to get a little over a second clear of Hodgson, but Hodgson has Evans and Atwater right there.
Top 4 in the field right now have all run laps in the 2:27 range. Fastest lap right now is by Jeff Ricker at a 2:27.1, which is set on the last lap, so he's getting quicker and quicker. Fuel load burns off a little bit, which can be somewhat of a factor in terms of how quick you can go. A lighter car obviously should theoretically be quicker, but certainly Grahovic's having a nice run here. Gap at the stripe was exactly 2 seconds. Ricker still 3 to 4 tenths quicker than our leader, but time is running down.
There is Nimkoff, their first car, that green trimmed BMW, running in the 5th spot, and then the machines behind it, Hodgson, with that yellow bit on the A-pillars there, right behind him, Evans, then Atwater. They're still covered relatively closely, then a little bit of a gap back to Uretsky in the orange Gorilla BMW.
It's a good battle.
It is.
Peasy there, just coming through the turn one area. Everyone seems to be finding a rhythm. I think the cars are now more underneath them. Racetrack's a little bit drier, wider line everywhere to use. Confidence is coming back, similar to what they saw in practice here yesterday. Able to eat up more of those curbs without settling the car and losing grip.
Oh,
that was tight.
Nice save. Wow, Atwater had that thing just, he looked like Schwartz doing a drifting run there and saved it. And didn't lose much.
No, he was carrying big speed and then a little bit of damage there to the right front. He was carrying big speed, but then was going for a gap, and the two didn't match up.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that's what we were talking about. You get that lunge down to the inside. That was Wexler. And John Allen, he got so far to the inside, I don't know that Allen even saw him.
It's a shame. It's been a pretty clean race up to this point. Obviously, a couple of spins, one on the formation lap, and Terry had his moment as well, but first real contact that we've seen of the day.
Looks like the tire is still up, but it looks like there may be some suspension damage. And bodywork certainly bent down onto the tire. So Wexler's day in the DRS, that's Dynamic Racing Systems. BMW, oh, look at this. Yeah, that margin is definitely coming down. Grahovic now within 2 seconds of Johan with 9 minutes to go, and Ricka right there. Interesting little story. And we talked all last year about the University of West Virginia supporting that car. Well, there's an alumni that owns A&L BMW in Pittsburgh, and they become a partner on the car because of that program. So that's a pretty cool deal just to see everything flow through as we see the 06 of Wexler in pits.
Just trying to determine if it's safe to get him back out there again. Took a bump, maybe the inner fender is down on the tire or something. Certainly not going to take any chances.
Right.
You do 75% of the laps of the leader to get classified for points, so that may be a factor in trying to get him over 80% into this race right now, so they should be okay on that.
Watching here is Uretsky now has found a little speed and is closed in on the back of Evans in the blue and white BMW. That orange and white. That's Bimmerworld versus Murillo. Heard that a few times.
Yeah.
There's a variety of different series. Always put on a great show.
Uretsky looks like he's hooked up. His car's working really well. Able to hug the line a little bit more than Evans in front of him.
There's Nimkov hanging on to the fifth spot, and then a few cars back, that bright yellow machine of Atwater, and then Evans and Uretsky. This is the battle for 8th.
Uretsky really trying to set up turn 11 and really focus on a good clean exit, which will determine your terminal speed down at the end here. Probably picking up a little bit of a draft from Evans right in front of him as well.
Here's Nimkov, then Hodgson. Here's Atwater. Uretsky, not quite close enough.
No, just that. It's just kind of a feel, right?
Yeah.
You could see he thought about it, could sense it was going to be too much of a risk to try and dive down the inside, and you know that the competitor in front of you is going to take it super deep there to take away any temptation.
I think Evans had in his mind he might try something. You can see Evans fainting over to that left just a little bit. All right, I'm going to narrow the gap up a little bit if you want to try it here.
Uretsky's definitely got his attention there. Evans missed his apex there a little bit as well, missed his mark, so he may be looking in his rear view mirror as much as he's looking forward right now.
Into 19.
He's really quick through there.
Yeah, he is. Back up to the front. The margin last time, but I remember we were talking about it was just under 2 seconds. Well, it's 1.2.
Yes.
Yeah, Grahovic's coming.
That is not comfortable margin for Johan. No. Grahovic is really, really quick.
And that's Grahovic's pace because the gap between Schwartz and Ricka in third is about the same. That's Grahovic has just picked it up.
Yes. The big question, if he came under the attack, did he have anything left in his bag of tricks? I tell you what, this is not a comfortable feeling. You know, we talked about the fact that the two guys that you finished behind in the championship are not here this year. You come into this round of the championship as he just slides and drifts off turn 11. You know that Johan is kind of thinking mentally like, I should be the guy. I need to go out and make a statement in this opening round of the championship. He doesn't want to give that up to Grahovic and suddenly figure, oh boy, I got rid of the two main protagonists last year. I've got a new one.
But something to consider, though, is when the M235 IR made its first appearance in the Touring Car Championship.
Oh, Johan's really struggling there, really wide coming through turn 12. I'm not sure the balance is underneath that race car right now, and if these two guys get duking it out, and Johan has to get defensive and compromise the lines, that will compromise lap time, and Rick could suddenly be there as well.
Absolutely.
We know he's got straightaway speed, Greg. He could suddenly be making a move down that long back stretch if he gets a bit closer.
Absolutely. And what I was alluding to with the Grahovic thing is that he got the M235 IR, his first championship in touring car a few years ago. So, I mean, he's a factor. He's very fast. A lot of experience in these cars. So, yeah, this is getting curiouser and curiouser.
Johan, I love the way he tacks turn 19.
Yeah.
Really wide and just floats big entry speed. Grahovic's good through there, though. His car looks to be hooked up a little bit better than Johan's, possibly.
Well, it's well under a second now as we hit 4 minutes essentially to go. Ricka now is observing from third. He'd like to be in it.
Essentially 2 laps to go. Yeah. See that little bit of debris off there to the left side of the racetrack, been there for most of the day. This is where Johan has to dig deep into his experience. But Toby's got a lot of experience as well, so he's not dealing with a rookie behind him.
By no means.
Just can't afford to make a mistake. He likes to drift, but he just can't afford to make a mistake and open up the door. You can see them really wringing the neck of that car. I like the balance in Toby's car a little bit better just looking at it, Greg.
It looks more planted, doesn't it?
It does. Toby just searching.
Getting the mirrors.
Try to distract him, just make Johan miss his marks a little bit, make that little error. Johan way wide, he's going to start to get some warnings for that. He can't do that to defend.
Well, and you can see that car started bouncing over those big orange curves, and it cost him exit. And here comes Grahovic.
Yeah, he's in the draft.
Right there.
He is in the perfect place to be looking for a move. He gets to the inside. Schwartz tries to defend. Grahovic has the middle of the road. He has the line. He just needs to control it now.
Oh, a touch. That was a touch, and it ends up. And this is exactly what Rico wanted.
Yeah, we talked about this with Peter Roberts, the steward who's going to be making the calls on that in track limits. Certainly Johan used a lot coming off turn 11. He had to use it again there. Certainly there's a little rub and he was forced a bit wide, but twice now he's been off the road trying to defend and keep this lead of the race. I'm not sure much more rope he's going to give him.
That's a very good point, absolutely. Because they will give you, as you said, a little rope with a few warnings.
We've seen it in years past. We talk about drivers making a position change by exceeding track limits, but drivers can defend by doing the same thing. You see that really wide turning point that Johan is comfortable with.
It's almost like he uses that curve to get a little rotation. All right, this should be last lap.
Outside the track boundaries again. He's got to be careful. He's got to be careful, otherwise he may be given this victory even if Toby can't take it from him.
All right, final lap. And you talked about Rika's straight line. Toby diving to the apex.
Rick is going to be close. These guys are hurting their lap time a little bit. Look at this. Rick is right in the mix now. He just needs to really think about where his advantage is down that back straightaway. If he can keep it really close here, focus on his speed through 10 and 11 to set up that exit and maybe take advantage on the run down to turn 12 later in this lap.
I'm pretty sure that Johan got a couple warnings because did you see when he started to float wide up at the top of one, he almost parked it to make sure he didn't run wide. Unfortunately, Grahovic was right in that spot, and that's what brought Ricka into the mix. Oh, boy.
It is game on.
Seriously.
It's going to take a lot of discipline. Schwartz has to really hit his marks here. He just needs to position that car where he doesn't open up the door and really focus on a good, clean exit. This is Ricka's opportunity to set him up. Jeff needs to really just focus here on getting through this apex cleanly, trying to use that little bit of a speed advantage he has.
Looks like he did a nice job.
He should start to come at these guys, but there's about 2 to 3 car lengths he's got to make up. He's maybe a bit too far back to make a move.
He's got to pick up a heck of a toe if he's going to do anything.
Well, he's got 2 cars knocking a hole in the air for him, so this could be a great opportunity. Grahovic again to the inside, almost a cut and paste from the previous lap.
Now, look at Grahovic. Wanted to square up underneath and expected, I think, Johan to maybe run a little wider, Cal. Now he looks to the inside.
Look at Ricker taking the big wide attack here.
Brilliant.
Really widening that radius, trying to carry the speed. Is the door going to be open? Is there going to be any touch? Johan super wide again. He's outside the boundaries.
And Grahovic got the inside curb hard and launched the car in the air, and Ricker pops to the inside. That door closed.
Nowhere for him to go. What can Schwartz do to hang on to this lead? Is there going to be a last corner move down into turn 20? Probably the last opportunity for Grahovic.
Ricker, he got through 19 quickly, and I think Grahovic realized, I want to try something, but Ricker's there. Ricker's going to square up underneath. Depends on the exit. Johan, that's what Johan needed. He'll hang on, and Grahovic, by 2 inches maybe, ends up in second.
200ths of a second. Not sure if that relates to an inch or not, but it was 200ths of a second at the stripe.
Unbelievable. And you can see Ricker was just referencing what was going on up there.
Now the debate will continue. Johan's waving. He's got the win on the road, but I know they're going to be discussing. I'm not saying he was doing anything that he...
There was a touch. Evans.
Too late.
Yeah, Evans and Atwater getting together. And Paul Terry, after everything he dealt with, is going to slot through and jumps up into 7th.
That move there was what I was anticipating Grahovic may go for. It's a tough one. Typically, there's going to be contact if the other driver defends, as we saw there. Someone's going to go for a quick spin.
All right, there you see, it's between 80 and 26 that we just talked about. It'll be under review. Again, big shout out to the 23 of Federal, who had a great run. 6th qualifying, ending up 4th and comfortable at that. And Nimkov completing the top 5. There are your top 3. Just wanted to give a shout out here. Johan said, if you could, just say hi to Dan and Betsy Brown. They are major contributors to his University of West Virginia race program, and they were involved in a pretty serious car accident. He just wanted to let them know that the whole Rooster Hall team is thinking about him. So good news and a nice move by this team, and wishing everybody well there. And Grahovic's heads around. As I'm sure.
Great to talk to these drivers and see their opinion of what went on there in the warfare for the win.
You know, that's what we see with touring cars so often. You know, that middle part of the race, sometimes it's kind of open, just kind of is what it is. And then at the end, suddenly it just tightens up and gets fierce. And that's exactly what we experienced. There's the 21 of Allen. Looked like he had a little moment. It's like he's got some bodywork damage in the back of that car. Allen does. That's the 2nd car in the frame there. So there may have been a little touch that we missed. Oh, here it is. Aha. Yep. He went down to the inside.
Well, as I said, we saw the leaders coming in there. That was going to be the last opportunity for the pass for the win. Grahovic thought better of it, kept it clean. But I think he may be fighting for this victory from a different way. In terms of he's not going to be happy with Johan defending and, running out of bounds a little bit. But tough conditions, and when you're defending.
It is, and the way it was described is you take a look at the provisional results here with Schwartz, Grahovic, and Rika comprising the podium, Federal, and Nimkov, the top 5, and then Hodgson, Terry. And what a great last lap by Terry after everything that happened to him in that race with cars struggling in front of him and spinning. He literally jumped from, I think, 10th to 7th, and that's pretty impressive stuff. So nice job there. And I'm sure Steve Strymer a bit frustrated after having qualified so well in 4th, having that off on the pace lap. And just could never quite gather it up and put the charge on here. But again, yes, when you think about it, Cal, you talked about 13 of these BMW M Cup cars, and yes, they went 1-2, but then a Genesis Coupe and a Nissan, third and fourth. So there's still a nice blend of competitiveness here.
It's going to be fun. And what a loss. Paul Terry laid down a 26-2.
Oh my!
That was 1.2 seconds quicker than our winner, Johann Schwartz, laid down today. So certainly a lot of potential there for race 2 tomorrow for Paul Terry to display.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And in the touring car divisions, that fast lap, they don't have a separate second, qualifying session, so that might be pole for Terry.
Great point.
And that'll make him feel good, which means give a look at what the best lap for Strymer was at a 2:28. So he'll be back up in that top 5-6 area right there. There's the Touring Car America's manager, Jim Jordan, congratulating Johann Schwartz.
He's a great character, and Johann loves his racing, has a lot of passion.
He does indeed, and of course he's standing by with Ryan Marine down in pit lane. Johann Schwartz, the win.
A final couple of laps. Johann Schwartz, congratulations. Take us through those last few laps from where you were sitting.
Well, from where I was sitting, Toby got a little closer every lap, and we had a little problem with our fuel pumps, so they wouldn't quite transfer all the fuel, so we had to pump it all, put full fuel load, and I think that was a little too hard on the tires. So I drove him off, and Toby was able to serve his. Great job. He made a pass and gave it back to me. I think he kind of pushed me off a little bit, realized that. So it's fun to race against Toby. It reminds me of the days that I was out there racing with Carl. I want to thank A&L, BMW, and also my little band that flew out there. That was for Betsy and Dan. Wish them the best. They're going through a tough time right now. So this victory is for you guys. Absolutely. Diamond Creek Water and obviously West Virginia, the students that are now part of the program now have done an excellent job. Put this car in victory lane on the first time out. To be part of SRO now, the first historical victory, so I'm happy about that.
Perfect way to start the season. Best of luck with the next one.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and that's one of the attractions here is talking to a number of the team managers in the paddock. They said one of the great things about this format is if you don't get it quite right in race 1, but you learn, you can tweak it and go out and have a shot at the win in race 2. And when you win like this, there he's over there having a nice chat with Toby, and I'm sure Toby's going, and you can see the language of racing. I like that, the bench racing that they're doing right there. But, yeah, fascinatingly fun race.
It was great. Yeah, it certainly had its kind of a moment in the middle of the race where things just settled down. Looked like Johann was under control, but you never know. And he certainly talked about the fact he'd run the tires off a little bit by having that full fuel load on board.
Well, and that's where the experience of a Grahovic to conserve and then have something at the end and not run. But let's go back, take a look at some highlights. There was Paul Terry, and you see the move, then we see the green. But like you said, that's usually called. And then you see Grahovic right there, the blue nose, trying to get underneath and make the move, and didn't quite get it done. And Ricky, you can see, floated wide, and that changed the whole dynamic early on in this one, Cal.
It really did. Ricky just couldn't get the front end on that. Genesis working in the early going. Came back strong second part of the race, but allowed Johann Schwartz to get to the front and try and manage the race. But as he just described, he was struggling a little bit with tire degradation.
And then right here, you can see Johann as he was out front. Ricky in second. Watch behind Zulman in the BMW loops at Paul Terry. Brilliant job to just barely tap him, but he stalled the car. Then he had to come back after it. And then this moment is a big
down
lunge.
to the inside on turn 11. Gets the job done. That was good racing there.
Yeah, John Allen. And then late, this is that moment that he was alluding to, that little tap.
A little rub there, and Johann just opens up his hands and gets back on with the program. Final corner of the race. I thought there might have been some argy-bargy here, but they keep it clean.
Do this final turn, and you can see Rika squared up underneath and got the run, but wasn't quite enough by, as you said, 21 thousandths of a second. As you watch it here, he ended up finishing in the third spot. Great race, and of course we'll be able to see another touring car race tomorrow here from Circuit of the Americas. Lunch break on the track right now. Lots more coming from this great venue.